Ever since our birth, capitalism has influenced our lives in so many ways. The healthcare system that our mothers were subject to during our births were just simply another aspect of capitalism from a very young age. Nearly 98% of births in the United States occurred in hospitals, which is just another sector of capitalism. The clothes we first wore when we were born were bought from a capitalist market. The words we heard that people said at a young age were influenced by capitalism to make us think of society in certain ways. Capitalism ultimately is a virus that has infected us from a very young age and prevented us from seeing the world in different ways. And it's been so hard to rid ourselves of this virus because of such a strong hold that it takes so early on. The entire world is dominated so much by capitalism that change on a large scale is nearly impossible. Since feudalism to mercantilism to capitalism, society over the past 500 years has been increasingly prone to impose ideas on our purpose. But that brings me ultimately to the central question today is, do we actually serve a purpose in the universe? To answer this question, many different perspectives can be taken. As I get into one particular one, we'll be able to see truly how capitalism has prevented from society from thinking in this broad of a level, and how if we can finally take off the limiting training wheels of capitalism, we'll be able to see ourselves and our size in the universe in a much different way, ultimately putting a definitive end to capitalism. Now, I'm assuming that most of you have asked yourselves why you do things. And more often than not, this question may be, why do you bother trying in school? And to you, you've said, oh, to get into a good college and to ultimately have a good career and a good life. But chances are not many of you have asked yourself, what is the point of even trying? Why is there a point in trying in school, and why does it matter if I have a good life or a good career? And it really doesn't, because even if you have a successful life, or if you have an unsuccessful life, the end result after death is the same for all of us. So then, why do we actually matter in the universe? And the conclusion I came to last year was that simply, we don't have any purpose in the universe, and our lives are pretty much meaningless. So the logic behind this answer is relatively simple. Look at this illustration that shows our scale in the universe. We aren't even specks that can be seen from the observable cosmos.
Oh my god.
It just keeps going and going and going. Yeah, and we can't even see us. Now, if we were to place time on a one-year calendar ever since the Big Bang, humans have existed on December 31st at the 22nd hour and 24th minute. This is approximately 0.02% of all time. Human history, as categorized by historians, has only taken place in the last 50 seconds before midnight. So, knowing this, how can we possibly think that we have any meaning in this universe? Although religions advocate a purpose, predetermination, heaven or hell, reincarnation, there is no definitive proof to say that these beliefs are true. And thus, it cannot be assumed, and even if they were, religion only gives us a purpose here on Earth, in society, and doesn't give us a purpose in the entire universe. But neither does science. Basically, this question I've realized is kind of a hyper object, that humans can't really perceive or create a definitive answer or really understand how small we are in this universe. So, because of these different theories, that there's no one set way to answer the question of do we really matter, and thus my answer personally has been we don't, simply because of our scale and in size, and both in size and time in the universe. So there's no way we can think that we actually matter. Think of it this way. Do you think the universe was created simply to foster human life? Or do you think that if humans no longer existed, it would have much of an effect on the universe besides here on Earth? To me, these answers are simply no. This theory is reminiscent of nihilism, which is a philosophy basically advocating that life is meaningless and you shouldn't have any connections or loyalties or responsibilities. However, I don't mean to leave you guys depressed and suicidal because life is meaningless. So let's go back to how this relates to capitalism and the story of how capitalism has affected us in our lives. First, when your first day of school came around, 10, 11 years back, did you really ask why you were going to school? Probably not. From a young age, we've been so ingrained in the capitalist system that we can't think of any other way to live. Over 170 countries have compulsory education laws, and these are basically saying that you have to go to school for a certain number of years during your life. Also, Americans only make up 5% of the world population. However, they make up more than 1/3 of the entire global consumership. So basically, we've all just been influenced to buy and buy and buy to no apparent end, thinking it's normal. Because basically, capitalism has created one route for all of us. School, work, graduation, and then life, and then eventually you die. Basically, you go to school, you eventually get a job, you eventually have a family, you're consuming throughout the entire period, and you die. And this happens to everyone via the capitalist system. So capitalism has kind of become an addiction along with consumership. So why does this have to do anything with us being purposeless? Simply, capitalism has given us a false purpose, and it's made it impossible for humankind to realize on a large scale that our purpose does have no effect on the universe. What I'm basically saying is that all of the systems we deal with on an everyday basis are completely useless and only led us to follow this materialistic lifestyle because of the huge societal pressure to follow this path because of the years and years and years we've been ingrained in following this system. We can create change, however. If the realization of our insignificance is spread on a huge scale throughout all of society, two possible things can happen. The first one is pretty catastrophic. Society could completely fall apart, leading us to chaos and destroy motivation for progress. The world is moving faster than ever right now. We're seeing progress in rates unmatched at any time during history. So many of you would say, why would we want to change this? Progress is good, right? And those of you are the people that think that are the people that have been most strongly influenced by the capitalist system, believing that capitalism is good for us. If it's not causing any harm, why do we bother continuing with it? However, you must realize it is not our purpose to be controlled by a set system throughout our lives. Now, the second way that we can perceive the answer of our meaningless in capitalism is that we can basically leave the capitalist system and become something completely different. We basically go back in time to a stage before any societal structures were created, and basically we would do whatever we wanted. We wouldn't have any obligations, we wouldn't have to worry about college, about job requirements, about any of those things, and life would be so much easier as from what we consider it to be right now. So we basically would have nothing to worry about, society would be completely structureless, and as I said earlier, this could be potentially catastrophic, but also could be a good thing. It may be scary to think about, but really it would actually kind of be fun. So why should we deal with a system that controls our everyday lives if we realize we actually have no bigger purpose in the universe? Thank you.